All right, let's go to Chris in Denver. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Dr. D. Thanks for taking my call. How you doing today?
You got it, brother. What's going on, man?
I'd love to chat with you about how to work through feeling guilty and maybe even some imposter syndrome as it relates to my career as I compare it to my parents and the income they made when I was growing up.
Tell me about it. Great question. I get this
So-
question a lot, man. So I'm glad we're connecting here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You've been a great addition to Ramsey, and I feel like the mindset part of finance is super important. So happy to have you help me or you help me, whatever we're trying to do here.
There you go.
So growing up, grew up pretty blue collar. My dad worked 3 jobs. He would be a mailman all day. After that, he'd be a landscaper. After that, he'd be a bartender. He'd get home at 2 a.m. and then right back at it the next day. And he busted his butt to be where he was and to raise us. and now I have a really good job. I make a lot of money, and I don't work nearly as hard as he does. And I don't know, I kind of struggle with that.
Yeah.
And they still struggle. They still, barely make ends meet. And I'm, living a good life. And they wouldn't accept my help even if I wanted to. So I don't know. It's just it's a lot.
What do you feel guilty
And
about?
I'm more emotional.
Yeah.
I'm more emotional talking about it than I thought I would be.
No, it's hard, man. I appreciate you being honest and vulnerable. I know millions of people, I don't know them, but there are millions of people in your exact same situation that have found themselves in a different life setting than they grew up in, and they don't know what to do with it. And they thought this new setting would solve their problems, would make them feel a certain way, and it doesn't. And there's a disconnect there, right? So, man, there's a lot here. What makes you uncomfortable about being successful?
I just was never raised with money. Like, I
know,
would
but
never ask my parents for.
You are giving money a lot of power. Where does that power come from?
Probably insecurity about not having a lot growing up.
Okay. And so money was supposed to solve everything. Why hasn't it solved everything?
I don't know. It's a great question. I mean, I'm happy in my life. It's just when I look back towards my parents that they don't have that, and I feel bad.
So can I ask you I'm going to phrase this in a way that's going to set you up. Is that cool? Okay, cool.
Sure.
Who gave you permission to judge your parents?
No one.
Who gave you the right to look at your parents and say, wow, they're missing out. They should have X, Y, or Z. They could be happier if they only had X, Y, or Z. Because you have X, Y, or Z, and you're not happier.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that they're doing okay?
Yeah, they're doing fine, yeah.
And so what is it about you having money that makes you feel like they could or should or might have?
I've just seen them make some interesting financial decisions that I think if they had money, they wouldn't have done.
That's fair. And by interesting, you mean terrible, ridiculous, stupid?
Your words, not mine.
Yeah, they're not my parents, man. I don't have to defend them. Good for you, though. So here's my dad's a cop growing up, and then he quit being a cop halfway through my life and became a minister at a local church. Okay, we didn't have a lot growing up, and what I found, and this is not something that my dad did. This is something that somehow I internalized. I divided the world up into us's and them's.
Mm-hmm.
And when you live a life of stress, whenever your body sounds the alarms, when you go into fight or flight, it quickly has a mechanism by which it divides up who's on my team and who's not. And we're going to run or go to war with those who are not on our team, and we're going to double down on those who are on our team. If you look at our country over the last 30 or 40 years, one of the things that media has done so well, particularly advertising, is when they tap into the fight or flight part of your brain, you feel like you need to go do a thing, to get a thing, or to go to a thing. What does that mean in brass tacks? It means you go buy stuff to make yourself feel better. Okay? Or you go to war. And how do you go to war? You go buy some more stuff. We need some more gear, some more this, some more that. Or you escape. You go on vacations, right? And so companies have a vested interest in you staying buzzed up. And then you look at the political landscape 50 years later, and I don't care who you vote for, Chris, but there's some things that the people you vote for, you're like, it's probably a bit much, right? But since you're in an us and them, you start biting off things that the us's are doing you don't even agree with because it's not them, right? So I'm telling you that to tell you, if you grow up in a blue-collar world, there is some part of your life that is absorbed into this is who we are and this is who they are, whoever they is. And all of a sudden you look up with a great job and a great salary and a big house and you realize, oh no, I'm a they.
Yeah.
And then what you have to do is either convince yourself that the us's that you grew up with were wrong, and we got to burn it to the ground, and I got to fix them and help them, or help the us's become one of theys, right?
Yeah.
Or you live this gapped life where, so my last job in Texas, I put in for a promotion, I didn't get it, and I didn't know why. I wasn't even considered, right? They didn't give me an interview for it. And so I asked a buddy who was ahead of me on the hierarchy, and he said, man, people think you're a politician. I was like, what are you talking about? I said, man, you always hang out with the cops in the back of the room. You always hang out with the caterers, and you're in there in a suit. It looks like you're just glad handing. And I said, man, that's where I feel most comfortable, because I don't feel comfortable hanging out with the academics. I don't feel comfortable hanging out with the administrators. And he looked at me and said, you're an academic administrator, my brother. You have two PhDs. You are now being the jerk you've been trying to avoid. And that hit me because he was right. You know what I mean? I was pretending. And so here's what I would tell you. Be really grateful for what you got. And
I am.
Don't feel like you've got to live in both worlds, okay? Be a person who treats everyone you come into contact with gratitude, with kindness. Make sure you acknowledge the mailman, right? Because you know how that life is. And love your old man. He's a grown man. He can make the choices that he wants to make. And they're not for you to judge, right? But he's a guy for you to love. And have you learned, tell me, you are, I'm trying to say this in a graceful, kind way. Oh, man.
You can just say it.
Well, I can, but man, I don't want to get canceled. So here's the deal. If we look over the last 100 years in our country, in the Western world, the stock market has done what?
Gone way up.
Way up. It's gone way up. We all got rich. And I know there's people listening to this like, I'm not rich. You are. You are. And also what has gone up is diseases of despair, addiction, cancers, strokes, heart attacks, people in jail. So it's come at a cost is what I'm saying. All sorts of social ills have come at the cost of us getting wealthy. And I'm not saying that getting wealthy is bad or evil or wrong. It's not. The pursuit single-mindedly of it is killing us. And so what I would challenge you to do you live by your old man?
No, I don't.
How close are y'all?
2,000 miles.
Oh, dang, Gina. Okay, that's a long way. So how often do y'all talk?
Once a week. I come home like a handful of times a year.
Cool. So here's what I want you to do. One of two things are going to be weird and cheesy. All right? And just shake it off and get over it. Cool?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, great. Hey, listen, when we hang up, I know you're not going to do either of these, but I just want to tell you, it will be awesome if you do. Okay? So,
all right.
Here we go. I want you to ask your old man, Dad, I want to start reading a book with you. You're smarter than me and wiser than me. You have been to people's houses for 30 or 40 years. You've met with people bartending, and you have done landscape. You've done it all. I don't know what makes your head tick, and I want to learn about things that you like. So I want to start reading a book with you, old man. You read the book, I'll read it, and then we'll talk about it. And if he won't do that, some dads don't read, that's fine. Y'all can watch a show together. I want you to start having a shared experience together where you're going to talk to one another. And in that discussion, you can either email. If you're really gangster, you can write letters. But I want you to create some sort of exchange dialogue with your dad, where y'all write back and forth to each other. Often men are terrible, myself included, at sitting down with other men and just talking about, hey, what's going on in your life? How's it going? Man, those are skills that I'm consistently trying to learn. But writing, man, I've seen writing get to the souls of men in ways that just chit-chatting won't. So commit to writing back and forth, whether it's about a book, whether it's about a show, whether it's about fill in the blank. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And here's what I'm trying to get at. I want you to take money out of the relationship with your dad. Your dad's made choices that your dad made, man. He made choices that he made. Your choices to have a better life are, number one, built on his hard work ethic. Number two, built off the lessons of character and relationship building that only a bartender and a mailman can pass along to a son. And number three, doesn't matter, man. Doesn't matter. It hasn't made your life, it's maybe made your life more comfortable, but it hasn't fixed that hole in your heart. That hole in your heart can only be fixed through relationships, man. So reach out, start relationships with your dad. And it may not look like that. It may be weird. Y'all may intentionally get together once every 5 months now. Or, once every 2 months now or 3 months now. It's hard when you're 2,000 miles away. I get that. Could be a FaceTime conversation once a week. And man, you're talking about awkward. Those would be weird, man. Be awkward. And you, my brother, you start a gratitude journal today. Every day, write down the things you are grateful for. Don't sentence yourself to a life of misery because you're financially successful. Give like crazy. Give. Be grateful. And when you feel yourself starting to beat yourself up because, oh yeah, I'm a they now and I'm not one of the us's, it's fine. The us's and them's is a fake category anyway. Propagated by the air we breathe nowadays. Okay? Be graceful with yourself. Be grateful for your old man. And dude, connection, relationships. All right, brother. Thanks for the call, Chris.